easy. Drive on through this town. You just keep rolling through. Life won't slow you down. But if you could take the time and pay a little down the line, maybe you could help turn someone's life around.
We'll get the raffle underway about 8 o'clock, and we'll get the raffle finished while Lloyd talks. So welcome to our club, ladies and gentlemen. Looks like a big night. We don't have many people, this many people here on a Friday night very often. No, it's Stephen Dean and Matt.
Yeah, good evening ladies and gentlemen. Tim for Australian Horizons Foundation, beefing up Australian Let's Get Rural. We're here at the MOULAMEIN Bowling Club for a good night out with Jason Singh, Huck and Flemmo, and myself and Renata Donlan. And just the local raffle, somebody, Mr. Oliver, donated a raffle book of raffle tickets for us. We win, do what we want with it. I'll tell you what, if we win on this, we're going to donate it back. Cheers.
Rising from the sun-baked flames, shifting 16 gears in a 90-ton train. Oh, I drive my youth down to the stream. Is this the end of the station, end of the dream? There used to be water here in this heart of cracked open. Now the river runs dry, the river runs red.
Good evening ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the MOULAMEIN Bowling Club. On behalf of the Australian Horizons Foundation, beefing up Australian Let's Get Rural campaign. If anybody that doesn't know me by now, which a lot of you don't, my name is Tim. I'm the face of Beefing Up Australia, and I'm here tonight to thank everybody for coming along. One of the things that we're doing here tonight, and I know quite a few people are quite interested in what's going to happen right now. I'm standing up here with a young fella. I've got to say that because he's younger than me by about, I don't know, 10 years. You're looking at two fellas standing up here on the stage at the moment. One's fatter than the other. I think Lloyd's fatter than me, but... Ladies and gentlemen, Lloyd Polkinghorn. He walked 303 kilometres to raise awareness for the water crisis and the attributes and the terrible conditions of the Murray-Darling water basin, which includes MOULAMEIN, Barron, Kundrook, Menindee and anywhere along the Murray River. Lloyd, how are you, mate?
Yeah, well, thanks, Tim. Thank you to everyone who could come along. It's fantastic to see so many people in the bowling club, and it's fantastic to have artists such as Huck and also Jason Singh and the other Jason accompanying him. It's amazing to have an ARIA award-winning artist within our small community. It's just great.
We're still going to get to that part yet at the end of the night, eh? Now, I know you walked 303k to raise awareness for water, right? A lot of people don't know. Yeah, you're still wearing the same boots and socks you wore when you walked the 303k. I'll tell you, poor Lauren, she's got to wash them. Now, mate, some of the trials and tribulations that you encountered along your walk, a lot of the farmers come up to the fences and everything, a lot of support. What was going through your head? Because I know yourself, a lot of years ago you had an accident on the farm and you suffered an acquired brain injury. How did that affect your walk, and what frame of mind did that put you in mental-wise to continue with that, to raise awareness and raise money for it?
Well, the The answer to that, Tim, is probably quite expansive, so I'll do my best.
Is it called marriage?
Isn't that a life sentence? No, but it was, yeah, the walk was fantastic. As many of you know, 2013, I actually had a brain injury on the farm, so I had a new shotgun that malfunctioned and damaged my frontal lobe and my pituitary and thyroid and a few other things. I spent a good, well, I say 2 years in bed. My wife tells me it was 4, so I'll take her word for it because I did have the brain injury. And life got pretty miserable, let's be honest. I developed post-traumatic stress syndrome. I had anxiety and depression. I gained 50 kilos in the first 12 months. So, you know, it was, there's still something there, Tim. It's the winter coat. Anyway, but I suppose that put me in good standing for the walk, and also made me, I suppose, reanalyse what was important to me as a human. Because I thought I was always going to be farming. So I had this notion in my head that I was going to be a farmer, and going to be on the family farm and continue on the tradition. But life seldom gives us what we think we're going to get. Life rolls on just as it is anyway. And so for me, I had to rediscover how I defined myself and who I was. It took a lot of time and a lot of self-reflection. Probably took me a good 5 years to get over mourning leaving the farm. That was actually a huge part of me, and it was a huge part, yeah, really hard to get past. And it also helped reinforce what all these other people are going through. Not through any fault of their own, not through, you know, bad management or accidents or whatever. This is actually a government-led program. We as a nation are spending $13 billion. Bipartisan support, all sides of politics are supporting this. A plan to restore the Murray that is actually destroying it. In Kundruk now, we've lost 5 to 7 metres of the Murray bank in the past 8 years. So that's the sort of erosion. It's erosion that hasn't happened in the last 100 years of river regulation, but it happens under a plan to save the Murray. I mean, Peter Garrett even danced at Barmer to say that, you know, we're going to save the river, we're going to do all these great things. And the results are not there. They're actually stuck in a process rather than looking at outcomes. We've got things going wrong right across the basin, and on my walk I got exposed to what was happening just within our footprint. The things that are going on aren't new. So the MDBA and the federal government and the state government know exactly what's going on. They have these reports, you know, these reports. The oldest one, about 10 years ago, actually said that we'd lost 75% of the employment within the Warkall district. So they actually bought back 50% of the water out of the Warkall district. So we are in part of the Warkall district. And the remaining 50% of the water has lost 50% of its reliability. So when you take the first 50%, that's $1 billion annually out of your local economy. You reduce you reduce the reliability of the remaining 50%, that's another $500 million out of your economy. So we lose jobs, we lose productivity, we lose viability, we lose critical mass, and that impacts all of us. It impacts our schools, it impacts our health services, our roads. All these things are actually based on population and, you know, how well we're all doing. So on my walk, I was really touched by the generosity and the love of people right across. You know, there was not a terse word said the whole trip. Maybe a few between my wife and myself, because let's be honest, I did ask her to drive at 4 k's an hour for 5 hours a day with 2 kids and no air conditioning in late November, early December. So the weather heated up and so did the mood at times. No, it was an amazing sacrifice, not only for Lauren but also the kids to come on. And yeah, I had people waiting by fence posts. I had people who had painted silage stacks, yeah, just as a thank you. As a thank you to raise awareness, because these people are just like the people in our community. They're actually people who care about their environment, they care about their communities, but the government keep painting them as angry irrigators. Every time they try to raise awareness, they keep saying, no, they're just a minority, they're angry irrigators. But make no mistake about it, our part of the Southern Connected System has borne the brunt of this policy, both Northern Victoria and Southern New South Wales. They already own more than 3,000 gigs. They've already bought a ridiculous amount of water. Not only that, they actually waste the water they've got. And they manage the river really inefficiently. They've almost doubled conveyance, which is the water to run the river. And within the New South Wales system, the rivers are allocated water first, then towns, then high security, and then general security. So our crops were always traditionally annual crops, because you grew them when water was available, you didn't grow them when it wasn't. And now they've turned that on its head. They're actually growing highest value crops, highest return, with no consideration for soil types, salinity, all these other things. They actually set up new irrigation areas on cheap farmland, mainly owned by corporates and really well funded. We've got huge environmental issues, and they actually use more water than rice. Almonds, if you like almond juice, I can't bring myself to call it milk because there's no mammary gland on an almond. If you can find one, well, let me know. So they're actually using more water than rice. They've actually moved water use to the biggest geographical shift in water use since Federation. They've moved it from above the natural constraints to below. And so that's why our rivers are getting destroyed. 30,000 years ago, we had the geographical shift, the tectonic plates, geography, you all remember that? Topography. And they actually formed the Barmah Choke, which is the natural constraint. The Murray used to be in the bed of the Walkall River. It changed into the Edwards for a while, and then it broke through and went into the Goulburn, which is the river at Barrel. And so that's why we've got a really narrow path. And every time it had rained before river regulation, it had hit the constraints and spread across the land. Our traditional owners knew this, and that's why they set up aquaculture and things at Barron, Polack Swamp. They had aquaculture there. And then early settlers settled in the land where the water was plentiful, where it flowed across the land. And now the government went, you're easy pickings because you're already licensed, you're already metered. We can buy it back and then we can shove it all down the constraints. They are actually destroying the rivers, make no mistake about it, and they're drying out our floodplains, which has huge economical, social and ecological impacts. And that's right across the basin. There's things going wrong at the bottom, there's things going wrong at the top, and it's just horrendous. We now have a $2 billion annual water trading scheme. You don't even need an ABN to trade water. If you're a politician, you don't even need to declare ownership while you're trading it, while you're actually creating policy around it. Horrendous. I had a dairy farmer the other side of the river at Kundrook. Anyway, he went to buy some water just to feed his stock, water to grow feed. The seller of the water was the New York Police Department superannuation fund. This is the sort of thing we're facing. They're actually, 100 years ago they'd call what we're in now as tyranny, but we don't learn that at school anymore, and there's probably a reason why.
Hey. I reckon somebody should get Lloyd a glass of water if there's any water available for you to have a glass of water, mate. You're sweating like buggery. A glass of water with some frozen water in it for Lloyd. Somebody, can you please? With everything you just said, you're spot on the money. With everything, the governments, doesn't matter if it's local, state, federal governments, somebody's got to stand up and do something, and that's why you've done the 303k walk. Now, Jason is going to be up later on tonight. He actually drove from Mildura down to MOULAMEIN today to bring everybody a good night, and he said it's actually 297 kilometres drive from Mildura to MOULAMEIN. And his words to me was, I cannot believe This fella walked 303 flaming kilometres, 6k longer than I drove. He said he's got rocks in his head. I said, no mate, he hasn't. He's doing it because he loves his community. He loves the people that he knows. He loves his families. He loves the people he grew up with. But most of all, he loves the passion of making sure that communities, small towns, farmers have got water, they've got a future. And on top of that, I said to him, Jace, this fella that's walked 303 k, 6k more than what you drove today, suffered an ABI. I said he'd done all that under those influences. And his words were, mate, he's a flaming hero. They were Jace's exact words, mate. And you are, to everybody out there, you're If it wasn't for you raising awareness for the water blight and everything else in the Murray-Darling Basin system, nobody would know about it really. So they wouldn't. But still, you have to take off those boots and socks so Lauren can wash your socks and give her no reason to kick your backside.
Thanks, mate. Look, I'm just one voice within, you know, people have spent thousands of hours writing submissions and things for the last 15 years. There is so much knowledge and wisdom throughout our community that has been advocating for a fair plan. We actually need everyone within the basin to have healthy environments and healthy communities. It shouldn't be one versus the other. And I actually think the water is too precious to be a political football. But anyway, the water job can be really tiring. And I've seen so many good people get burnt out. And I've seen so many people get despondent going through it. Anyway, part of the things that I learnt going through my brain injury was I dabbled in a bit of philosophy and all sorts of things and sort of just followed where things resonated with me. You know, that hint of inspiration or that hint of following your nose. Anyway, one of the things that I found really beneficial was actually an Eastern philosophy. It talks about life being the storm. So if you imagine a thunderstorm rolling in, there's nothing you can do about it. It's coming whether you like it or not, and that is what life is. Whether we like it or not, we can plan, we can try and force our will, but the storm's coming. Our choice becomes whether we want to fight the storm. So you imagine a red gum bearing down, the storm on it. A red gum gets its branches snapped as it stays firm, its leaves shredded. The next day you come out and there's branches and trees spread from here to kingdom come. You look at the grass went through the same storm unaffected. So we have a choice. You can either try and resist the things that are impossible to resist and beat yourself up in doing it, or you've got to try and be adaptive. Doesn't mean you don't fight for the things that matter, it just means you've got to get a bit more creative, because whether I like it or not, the government's here and the government's trying to impose this plan. But anyway, I can spend my time making life a bit challenging for them, raising awareness, because this is about the future. This is about the future for all Australians. You know, we're worried about carbon, we're worried about all these other things, healthy, clean, green food, and the best place to get it is out of your own backyard. We actually have really well-regulated industries, and yet we import cheap crap from places where they doze out rainforests to grow stuff that we grow here. Highly regulated, really efficient. So anyway, whatever you face, you've got to roll with it.
You do indeed, mate. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Lloyd Polkinghorne. Who's up for a good laugh? Not many people? Nobody's up for a good laugh? Everybody up for a good laugh? Ladies and gentlemen, Flemmo. You know what this is?
Are you up for a good laugh? I don't believe you. Up for a good laugh? Let's get noisy. Hi, I'm Flemmo. How are you all? You're all groovy. This is good. It's great to be here. Thank you very much, everyone. I'm Flemmo. Enjoy the rest of your night.
The nights like tonight
are well and truly thankful for all the donations and everything else, and the $5 paid forward. Those donations help us to go to the next town to provide the same music and comedy and fun as what MOULAMEIN is getting tonight. These donations help us get out people like Flemmo, Huck Richards, Jason Singh, myself and Anita Donald, who's the mastermind behind all this. All ambassadors for Beef It Up Australia and Australian Writers Foundation. So without your support and without the pay it forward of $5 pay it forward, it's all tax deductible. It helps us, as I said, get to the next town and get to where we're going to provide the same night, fun and laughter, a night out, stress-free night that you ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls are having.
No one told a lot of good lies down. I could lose everything for you. But if you fall asleep and gotta wake up, you say that it's over. And I could take all these fears away from you. 'Cause everywhere you go, I come running. And everywhere you go, I will bring you around. Give me one reason to stay, I'll turn them back around. Give me one reason to stay.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to give your hands together for Jason Singh and JD. And don't forget, big round of applause for Huck Richards, our first off-leading artist tonight. And Flemmo, our comedian. Put your hands together for Courtney and the staff here at the MOULAMEIN Bowling Club and for the fantastic meals in the service. The biggest silent killer is depression. It doesn't matter whether it's yourself, your wife, your husband, your mum, your dad, your daughter, your son, your brother or your sister or your cousin or a bloody good mate. Everybody out on the land in a small community, in a small town, not to mention our major cities and our bigger towns all around the country, everybody has lost a mate. Everybody's lost a family member. Somebody has lost somebody close to them that means the world to them through mental health and depression, through suicide. We want to stamp that out. I myself am a 13-time suicide attempt survivor. And it ain't fun. Biggest thing that's kept me here is the same thing that's kept a lot of people here tonight. And I've seen these people have a bloody good night. They're our kids. Our kids are our future. Our kids are the ones that's going to carry on our legacy when we're gone. They're going to carry on everything that we have worked for, whether it be on the land, in the city, on the oceans, on the rivers. Our kids are our future. We have to be here for our kids. Why do I know this? As I said, I'm a 13-time attempted suicide survivor. I grew up in a small country town. My motto's over there on the banner. We are strong, we are survivors, we will win. My name's Timothy May. I don't only come out here to help out with the Australian Writers Foundation. Let's Get Rural campaign, Beef It Up Australia. I come out here because I want people to know my story. I want people to know that it's okay to talk about what's going on. 70% of people that go through these issues that will not talk are men. You don't have to get out there and pressure somebody to talk. It does more harm than good. Pat on the back. G'day mate, I'm here for you. A beer, a coffee, a water, soft drink. Mate, I'm here for you, leave it at that. They'll start talking when they're ready. Don't pressure them. Does more harm than good. MOULAMEIN is a very proud community. I've seen that tonight. Different people I've spoken to before the night started. I've known Lloyd Polkinghorn for a few months now. And I'll tell you mate, anybody had cause to do something stupid and then their future impact their kids, it's that fella. Why? ABI, 4 to 5 years in bed, then he gets out and he walks 303 kilometres. Why? He loves his community. He loves the people that he's met throughout his life. He loves his family. He wants a future. He wants everybody to grow and prosper. Water or not, you've got to survive. You've got to do the best you can to get out there and do the best you can to make sure your kids, yourself, and people coming after you, your mates, have a future. Get out there, do the best you can. Support a mate. Support each other. For Christ's sake, support your kids. Be there for them. Suicide, that's it. Final, done. Pain might be gone for you. It's not gone for your family. It's not gone for your kids. It's not gone for your mates. Support, help, be there. Everybody needs a mate. Everybody needs a family. And for Christ's sake, every kid needs a parent.